Hey everyone, what's up? Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, no matter what time it is where you are right now. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. For those of you who are new, my name is Madison or Maddie, and I love to make content on health, wealth, happiness, and living your best luxury lifestyle. So it's been a while since I made a YouTube video, but I have yet another health and wealth news update. Breaking news is the Silicon Valley Bank, which has basically been hit super hard in the downturn in technology stocks over the past year. And this is all tied in with the current Federal Reserve's aggressive plan to increase interest rates. So I want to talk about that today. And in addition to that, I also want to talk about the fact that there was basically a letter from the Food and Drug Administration and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention last Friday, in which the claims by the Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo, not sure how to say that. They basically debunked his claims that COVID-19 vaccine was harmful. So I'm going to talk about both of those things today. Definitely a lot of juicy updates. But first, just going into a couple of different articles. One is from the Associated Press, AP News, and the other is from the Wall Street Journal. So AP News basically tells us, why did the Silicon Valley Bank fail? For example, right? Like, I work for a corporation and we have a lot of people who use the Silicon Valley Bank, and so do the customers that we serve in our B2B business. And then, in addition to that, like, there's just so many different industries tied in with this bank, even though it is primarily related to technology in some shape or form. But essentially, according to AP News, the Silicon Valley Bank was hit hard during the downturn in tech stocks over this past year, combined with the Federal Reserve's aggressive plan to increase interest rates to combat inflation. And essentially, the bank bought billions of dollars worth of bonds over the past couple of years, and they did so using customers' deposits, and that's what a typical bank does. However, these investments, while are typically safe, those investments, the value of them actually fell because they paid lower interest rates than what a comparable bond would pay if issued in today's higher interest rate environment. So essentially, the officials from the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, or the FDIC, according to the Wall Street Journal, told Senate Republicans on this past Monday that they, or basically today as I'm recording this, that they had additional flexibility to sell the firm, to sell SVB, now that regulators had declared its failure as a threat to the financial system. So people familiar with the briefing and the notes on the discussion basically, agreed with this sentiment on the Wall Street Journal. And by essentially declaring this firm as systemic risk, regulators did have more flexibility, however, to cover all the depositors who basically trusted this bank and put their deposits in this bank, trusting into this. So they are going to cover them up to $250,000. That is the cap of the insurance that is guaranteed to these depositors. And then this move also gives regulators the ability to offer the would-be buyers deal sweeteners, such as loss sharing agreements, according to former regulators. So it's been a really big deal, the SVB thing, because I believe a couple of other banks have also failed alongside. One was a crypto firm, and I think another was like Signature Bank or something like that. But yeah, it's basically something that has just been a run on the bank. People were rushing to take out their money when they learned about the losses from SVB. And this run on the bank essentially put them into a really downward spiral. And now, because of this, the FDIC has taken a step in to try to say, hey, like, we need to sell the firm. I don't believe the US government is bailing this bank out per se, but they are up for grabs. But I think one bank did try to buy them and they denied it. So it's still TBD what's going to happen with SVB, but at least the people who put deposits, including companies, individuals, at least they'll be covered up to $250,000. So that's the good news. And that is from AP News and Wall Street Journal. Now, let's dive into the health news for today. I'm just going to kind of read this verbatim. According to AP News, the U.S. health agencies has sent a letter to Florida's Surgeon General warning him that his claims about the COVID-19 vaccine risks are harmful to the public. So just to step aside for a moment, in case you guys didn't know, the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, had basically taken the opposite approach of the majority of the country, in which he did not force COVID-19 mandates and the COVID-19 mRNA vaccine as strictly and firmly as did the other states like California. And it was quite controversial, but attractive to the Republican parties, at least some individuals within the Republican Party, to have taken that approach, because of course, no one likes lockdowns. And there's a lot of adverse effects that do come from having to deal with this whole pandemic issue. So Florida kind of took a different direction versus the rest of the country, in which Ron DeSantis, really didn't actually force people to take the vaccine or do anything kind of like that. Like, there was just much more loose, laissez-faire types of regulations around the whole pandemic issue, at least later on, after we learned that this was going to be not like a super deadly virus or anything like that. But going back to what this says, so the letter from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and the CDC sent this letter last Friday to the Florida Surgeon General Joseph Ladapo. I've got to learn how to say his name. I'm just going to call him Ladapo, sorry. And it was a response to a letter that Ladapo had written the agencies last month, in which he expressed concerns about what he described as adverse effects from the mRNA COVID-19 vaccines. Now, I've heard this personally as well, such as that the mRNA vaccine was harmful to young people and could put you at greater risk of heart attack and things like that. So going back to this, Ladapo was appointed by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis in 2021, and he had attracted national scrutiny over his close alignment with the governor in opposing COVID-19 vaccine mandates and other health policies embraced by the federal government. Okay, that's what I was saying earlier. Ladapo last year released guidance recommending against COVID-19 vaccines for healthy children, contradicting federal public health leaders whose advice says all kids should get those shots. And he had also recommended against men ages 18 to 39 years old from getting the mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, claiming that an analysis by the Florida Department of Health showed an 84% increase in cardiac-related deaths. That's a big number. In their letter, the federal agencies debunked this analysis's conclusion, saying that cardiovascular experts who studied the concern had concluded that the risk of strokes and heart attacks was lower in people who had been vaccinated, not higher. So there's definitely some contradicting claims here. On one hand, you have Ladapo saying that men ages 18 to 39 and children should not get the COVID-19 vaccines. In addition to that, claiming that if you did get the vaccine, you would have an 84% increase in cardiac-related death. Whereas on the other hand, the rest of the government, basically the federal government and the CDC and the Food and Drug Administration, claiming that actually, if you got this vaccine, your risk of stroke and heart attack were lower. Now, I'm not a scientist, but I do know that definitely having any pre-health conditions prior to being exposed to COVID-19 could put you at greater risk of, death or sickness, illness, etc., or long COVID. So if you're already someone who's prone to strokes and heart attacks, if you already have a compromised immune system, if you are already obese or there's some other underlying health condition, then it's a lot riskier for you to get COVID-19 in the first place. However, when you mix that with actually getting a vaccine, I'm not an expert, so I personally don't know what a COVID-19 vaccine could do if you already have some type of underlying health condition. But when you think about children, for example, children are quite healthy if you are not morbidly obese or have some type of, underlying health condition. So it is kind of funny that he would advise against children getting the vaccine, as well as men aged 18 to 39 to get the vaccine, because you would think unless you have a pre-health condition, you would be probably at your peak health. during 18 to 39 years old. So it's just really interesting to me that, someone like a Florida general surgeon, whatever, would claim that your risk of cardiac related death would increase 84%. That's a big percentage. I want to know, what is the sample size of people? How is the study conducted? Where is his evidence? Like, what is he citing? And I don't know what the truth is, but if there is like a majority consensus against and debunking his claims, then it's only right to investigate this further before we take it as truth and as fact. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if there are any developments from Latipo's claims as well as the debunking of his claims. But basically, if these federal agencies are debunking the analysis's conclusion, I would like to know too, is there at least some truth into it? Like, are there ways that we can see his side, or are there instances where Latipo is correct, or is he just completely dead wrong? So I'm really interested to know. I definitely would like to know too, if you guys have found any information or research on this, definitely leave a comment in the description below. But yeah, that is my health and wealth news update. It is Monday, March 13th as this recording. But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I really enjoyed giving you this health and wealth news update. So be sure to subscribe, follow, comment, like, what have you. I'll make sure to have my links in the description as well, in case you want to follow me on social media. But until next time, definitely subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, again, my name is Maddie. Bye.